Good evening. I am Dennis Michael Lynch, filling in for Steve Malzberg, who is off celebrating the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. The big news last night came from Governor Scott Walker, who dropped out of the 2016 race. We'll be covering that and more this evening, but I start with Pope Francis and his visit to America. He is scheduled to meet with President Obama today, and he will address Congress before heading up to New York. Now, as a Catholic, I'm excited for his visit, but as a conservative American, I have huge concerns about what he's going to say with regard to immigration. I want you to picture this. The Pope arrives to America for the first time in his life, and he sees the beauty of the White House. He feels America's history and its patriotism as he drives past the monuments in Washington, D.C. I get chills just thinking about it. Then he flies to New York City and he sees the power and wealth that radiates from the New York City skyline. The Pope is going to get a false sense that America is doing well. And so there will be no hesitation in his voice as he urges the United States of America to be more compassionate towards the Syrian refugees and more open to immigration reform. In other words, he'll call upon us to invest in the people we cannot afford. Now, some people will ask me, Dennis, where's your compassion as a Catholic? My compassion? My compassion is with the American people who are struggling. It's with my kids, it's with your kids, and every American who I've met while traveling in this great country. The Pope isn't going to visit the America that I know. He's not going into the black communities like the ones in South Chicago and Detroit that are barely holding on. He won't see the ranchers who live in fear of the drug cartels who invade our borders each and every night. He won't run from the hundreds of thousands of gang members who terrify our neighborhoods. And he won't visit the unemployment lines or the welfare offices or the veterans who are treated like cattle by the VA. He won't see what we see, which is a broken America that is doing poorly because it has been fundamentally changed by President Obama. The Pope needs to understand that America is the most compassionate country on earth. But America can no longer afford to take in an ocean of refugees. And we should not be asked or expected to give our citizenship away as if it comes out of a Cracker Jacks box. Look at the images. Right now, across parts of Europe, nations are closing their borders. They're blocking bridges, shutting down trains, and installing razor wire fences in an attempt to stop the mad rush of Syrian refugees. Now, it's not because these nations don't have compassion. What they lack is resources, and they don't want their nations to become something they no longer recognize. There is no shame in that. But you can bet your bottom dollar that if the Pope and the President Obama have their way, America will be taking in these refugees. And Obama has already said that we're going to be taking in 85,000 of them next year and 100,000 in 2017. Your money, at a time when you don't have money, will be spent on taking care of foreigners instead of taking care of our own. And that really bothers me. Here with a reaction to what I've said is Brigitte Gabriel, president of ActForAmerica and author of They Must Be Stopped. Brigitte, it is always great to see you. Thank you for being with me today. So what do you think? Am I a mean guy or am I spot on?
Thank you. First of all, I'm delighted to be with you. And no, you are spot on. We have to take care of our own. And not only because of the financial situation where we have people in our own country who are in dire need of help. You know, they say you need to take care of your home before you look at somewhere else. If you have but one meal to feed your child, would you choose to give this meal to another child and let your child starve? Or would you take care of your own family first? And the answer is you take care of your own family first, because it's human nature. We have to take care of ourselves. Once you address this issue of our communities cannot handle the influx of refugees coming into it because the schools cannot handle them, welfare cannot handle them, healthcare cannot handle them, the streets cannot handle them. We don't have the resources. But you add to that the national security threat. And that's when you take it to a whole different level as to why we should not accept any refugees from the Middle East at this point. I mean,
Brigitte, let me chop you off for 1 second before we get into national security, because I want to talk about that, okay? Where are we going to put these people? I mean, where in the country are we going to put them? Are we going to be putting them in Dearborn, Michigan, and places like that? I mean, where are they going?
They are going to places like Idaho, Wyoming. I mean, it's amazing where they are actually putting these people. No, they're not sending them to Detroit, at least not that I know of, or any areas where actually people speak Arabic. But again, no matter where they bring them, we have no resources to take them. And this is why we are fighting this right now very, very hard. And the American public can get involved and make a difference. There are now 2 bills in Congress, one introduced by Congressman Babin and one introduced by McCall. Both bills will stop President Obama from bringing more refugees. Go to our website, ActForAmerica.org, and find out about these bills and what you can do. We are forming a refugee resettlement working groups across the country. We have 940 chapters nationwide. If you are concerned and interested in this issue, go to ActForAmerica.org and sign up to get involved in the refugee resettlement working group.
All right, so let me ask you, let's get into the national security bit, all right? I lived 9/11 firsthand. I watched as my American citizens jumped 80 stories to their death. How are we going to be able to process these people and do correct background checks? I mean, the word is already out that ISIS has plans of throwing in young men into the group. How are we going to defend ourselves?
We cannot defend ourselves. And if we just look at Europe right now, just yesterday, Germany arrested an ISIS terrorist recruiter who was there as an asylum refugee. And that was just yesterday. We already know that ISIS has infiltrated the refugees. We already know that ISIS knows that there's no way you can vet these refugees. They don't have IDs. They don't have passports. They don't have birth certificates. We do not know anything about them or their background other than the names they are giving to us, and they can make up any name whatsoever.
All right, so let me ask you this. Let's say, for instance, that we do take in all these people, which, you know, President Obama has his way, and if the Pope has his way, we're going to. How long does it take from somebody who is from the Middle East to come over here to America and assimilate? How long of a process is that?
Well, a lot of them are not assimilating. And if you look at Detroit right now, and if you look at different areas or former refugees we brought in, like the Somali refugees, look, we have them in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We have them in Tennessee. We have them in different parts of the country. They've been here for years. How good are they assimilating? All we have to do is look at the people we already took in. And they are not assimilating because they have a different value system that will prevent them from assimilating no matter how long they stay in our country. Look at the European refugees that came into Europe, the Muslim refugees into Europe. Europe has been taking them in since the 70s and 80s. They've been there for 30, 40 years. How well has the Muslims in Europe assimilated into European culture? And the answer is zip, zero, nilch. And that's the problem we are facing here. And that's why the American public has a chance now to get involved and apply pressure on Congress to stop the refugees from coming. We already have bills introduced. Go to ActForAmerica.org and get involved in the refugee resettlement issue. They are coming to your neighborhood. They are coming to your state. You need to know who's coming and how many of them are coming and whether your state can stop it.
Brigitte, we've got 1 minute left. I want to ask you a question here about President Obama. I mean, he said he was going to fundamentally transform this nation. I've always believed he was going to do it through immigration. There is a part of me that believes that he did not want to take out ISIS. He does not want to take out ISIS because it creates an incredible refugee issue. My newest film, They Come to America 3, I made it way before this was all happening. It's like I predicted it. You think this is all part of his plan? I've got less than 30 seconds.
Yes, it is, and he is already partly changing America because that's his values. He does not believe in American exceptionalism. He believes America needs to be on par with the rest of the world, and therefore we are all one. And that's why he wants to intermingle America, to have a population of every corner of the world, whether or not they are equal to us or not.
Well, Brigitte, let me say that I love having you on. Every time they ask me to guest host, I will have you with me. Thank you for being with me today. Up next, the Malzberg panel with Ford O'Connell and Nomiki Konst. Stay tuned.